Hi everybody, I'm Sean O'Kane with Chip Estimate TV. We're here at ARM Techcon 2015. And with me today is Mike Noonan, CEO of Ambiq Micro, and Keith Odland, the Senior Director of Marketing, also with Ambiq Micro. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Our pleasure. So good to see you again, Sean.
Yeah, it's great seeing you. So I want to talk a little bit about this new microcontroller that's in production, and it's based on the Subthreshold technology.
Subthreshold technology.
Yes, Subthreshold micro technology. Could you talk a little bit about the low power features?
Yeah.
And of course the product itself.
Why don't I introduce you what we're doing with our Subthreshold approach, and then Keith will talk about specifically some of the exciting announcements we're making here today at Techcon. And this is one of the most exciting times ever to be in semiconductors, as long as you're innovative. And Ambiq Micro, which has been an ARM licensee and a partner of ARM for a long time, has taken a new approach towards M-class microcontrollers by bringing the technique of subthreshold logic to get ultra-low power operation, and really providing what everyone wants, ultra-low power and energy efficiency for wearables and IoT devices, but by using a different approach than everyone else, and really mastering the ability to use subthreshold and near threshold techniques, which have been used previously but very selectively for in hearing aids or Swatch watches.
Right.
But Ambiq Micro has mastered the approach of using it for an entire SoC. So as a result, we get the world's best sleep and active power, which is something that's definitely necessary for anything that's battery powered, such as wearables and fitness bands.
Okay, you mentioned wearables, and in your hand is now in production this Misfit wearable device, and you're talking about your relationship with ARM.
That's right. Well, so ARM recognized a number of years ago that low power was going to be important, and so they discovered Ambiq, which came out of work at University of Michigan, and Scott Hansen, the founder and our CTO, really has been spending a lot of time and effort to take these techniques and be able to use it in a way that could really differentiate an ARM Micro. And so ARM made an investment several years ago in Ambiq Micro, and since then we've been crafting and really perfecting our Cortex M4 with floating point, which we introduced production, and happy to say our first volume customer Misfit with their Shine 2 has entered the market. And this is the Shine 2 here, an unprecedented number of sensors and features, 9-axis accelerometer, capacitive touch, haptic, 6-month battery life.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Keith a little bit if you can also expand on this new product a little bit.
Sure.
I mean, over and above what Mike has done.
Well, I think that was one of the main challenges that our customer brought to us was, hey, we want to take our Generation 1 product, we want to move to Generation 2, we want to add features, we want to add functions, we want to add more functionality, but we can't compromise battery life, and we can't change the form factor of the design. So essentially having to take the same energy and do a lot more things with it.
Excellent. And so speaking about low power is always a very important topic of conversation at ARM Techcon, okay? And if you want to touch on the benchmarks, low power benchmarks with this, and also the Ambiq.
Well, I think that's really one of the challenges with making low power claims is we're not the only one making low power claims, so there has to be a way to cut through the claims and normalize the performance, the power performance of any given microcontroller. So the company Ambiq, EEMBC, created a set of benchmarks designed specifically for low power. So now this way, all the suppliers, all the microcontrollers run the same software, they run it in the same way, and they get a score at the end of that. And whoever has the highest score has the lowest power microcontroller.
Oh, excellent. Anything to add, Mike?
Well, and when you can go ahead and see this, comparison by a third party that shows, here's a Cortex M4 floating point that's lower energy than some M0 solutions out there. Think about what that means from a designer standpoint. Not only longer battery life, which means higher user satisfaction, but perhaps you can add more features, just as our friends at Misfit did, or perhaps even use it in ways that you can have different form factors because you don't have that same bulky lithium-ion battery. And really, this enables all sorts of things that make the wearables and IoT come to life.
Right.
All because a differentiated architecture, taking the industry standard from an MCU architecture, combining the two, and enabling designers to do clever things, just as our friends at Misfit did with the Shine 2.
And I can see this in a broader sense, and I hope I'm right here. I'm not only healthcare, but security, education, infrastructure.
That's right.
And on and on and on. So
and not only just battery operated, but be able to go ahead and leverage existing infrastructure without having to change the power requirements.
Right.
Or being able to go ahead and have something that adds more functionality without cooling.
Mm-hmm.
And so by bringing a different approach towards energy management and marrying that with the industry standard from an MC architecture, and by the way using bulk CMOS standard foundry processes, you get the economies of scale. It really is quite compelling, and one of the reasons why we're so excited about Ambiq Micro, and so delighted to be here, because we're a startup and we don't have the budget to have our own semi-tractor trailer or one of these fancy buses. But even better, we got customers and now third parties that really validate and verify that this is the most energy efficient MCU out there.
Right. Exciting things coming from Ambiq Micro. So for Mike Noonan and Keith Odland, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sean O'Kane. We'll see you next time on Chip Estimate TV.